What environment are we in right now with at retail? Everything's on sale, perpetually on sale, right? It's a matter of degree. So the reason for that is, guess what happens? If we think we're going to lose money, if we're a defendant in a lawsuit and we're going to have to pay money, and we process that as a loss, the brain gets really excited about losses. It burns a lot of oxygen. It gets a lot of cognitive dissonance. It does not like to lose things that we already have. If it's a gain, however, half as much oxygen is burned in the brain, and people will take less risk on a gain than a loss. You say, okay, enough theory. How's this play out? What happens if a pair of shoes, these shoes I'm wearing, if they're $100, but they're just marked $100, what do I see? $100 loss out of my pocket to buy those shoes, right? But what happens if the shoes were $200 last week and they're marked down to $100 now? Then what happens? What's the reference point? And I'm not trying to be cute because you're going to be able to apply this. What's the reference point? It's a 200, right? And so what's happened? By marking it up to 200 and then back down to 100, they're now seeing it as a gain. They've gained $100. Their banker might not agree, but they've gained $100, and they process it completely differently in their brain than if it's $100 from zero. So you say, okay, what am I going to do with that tomorrow? I'm trying to negotiate a case. What do we do in anchoring? Where we take aggressive anchors and then get to better prices as the day wears on. We're recasting the frame. The claim is now on sale. And the order of magnitude for how much it's on sale depends. Now, I'm not trying to suggest that if you're negotiating with your boss tomorrow that you shoot the moon and then put it on sale. It may or may not work. It depends on your negotiating leverage, but you get the idea. Because think how you can think next time you see something marked in the store, how you process it in your brain and how much harder of a decision it is to pay the 100 from zero than it is to pay the 100 when it's marked down from 200. That's what we want to do. If you can get people to process what you want to do, your non-inert decision as a gain, you've got twice as good a chance at getting it resolved. So how do you make a defendant who's going to pay into seeing it as a gain rather than a loss? One thing I'll do sometimes is you play on the short circuits, the shortcuts that we have in our brain. We know that because from the Reagan-Gorbachev study that they're automatically going to think half as much of what the other side says as they do of their own stuff, right? So if we're asking, in my shoes particularly when I'm mediating, if I ask you what you think my demand is from the other side, what are you going to tell me? You're going to tell me, you're going to think, well, gee, she's off her meds. It's going to be something outrageous. I've negotiated with her before. It's going to be an exorbitant demand. And because we're making all those imputations to the other side, what are we going to do? We're going to overshoot the amount of the demand, right? So, and I learned this the hard way. I walked into a caucus room one day in a mediation. There's a pile of dollar bills with Post-it notes on them. Everybody had written their number on, and whoever got closest to the pen with the offer that was coming in got to scoop all and play again for the next round. But I got to think, at first I thought, what are these? I guess they're bored half the time. They got to come up with something to do. But then I thought, you know what? What'd they do? Most of the numbers were what? They're above the demand because they are reactively devaluing, just like the college kids did what Gorbachev said. They're reactively devaluing what they think the other side's going to do and making it worse than it really is. So if they say, well, gee, I think the demand's going to be $100,000 and it comes in at 75, what's just happened? If they came in from 0 to 75, they go, oh, gee, lots of oxygen burning, and it's a loss. And I'm getting lots of cognitive resistance and everything else. If they think it's going to be 100 and it comes in at 75, what happened? They're not going to let me see it, but secretly they're kind of going, it's better than we thought, better than we thought. And they're processing it just like I would if I saw the shoes marked down. That's what you need to do. Think about negotiation is different than trial. You're rarely going to talk people in negotiation to seeing your way of thinking and saying, gee, you're right, I should just drop the case and what are your attorney fees to date so I can cut you a check. Not going to happen. But we can start framing the way we ask for things. Frame the ask in a way that meets the other side in a way that they can at least have a fair chance of processing it through the analytical portions of the brain without getting an immediate fight or flight response because it's just out of bounds. So think about it when you're trying to negotiate your salary, your time off, whatever it is. Don't shoot the moon like we would in a plaintiff's case, but give yourself some room, because then what happens? The other negotiator gets to be the hero at the end of the day. And nobody's ever going to make a deal in a mediation or anywhere else that they don't have a hero story to tell whoever they have, whether it's their buddy at the bar or a boss or a spouse or whoever it is. They're going to have a hero story for why they did what they did to do what the Israeli judges were doing and make the non-inert decision to put an end to this rather than just keep chugging